our next presenter is Steve Lynn, Chief Executive Officer of Cannon Resources, Managing Director as well.
Right, thank you everybody. This is Cannon Resources. I'd like to talk about our evolution here. So we are a spin out from Rox Resources. Rox put their nickel assets into a separate vehicle called Cannon Resources. This happened mid this year. So we listed on the stock exchange at around on the 12th of August this year. We'll just skip that one. So we inherited Rox's two main nickel projects, which is Fisher East and Collurabble. They're in the northern part of the Goldfields region of Western Australia, around about 220 kilometres north east of Leonora. They're about 65 kilometres apart. Fisher East is around about 115 kilometres as the crow flies from Mount Keith to the northeast. So, that slide there showing us exploring at Fisher East. We're already doing that, which I'll get into in a minute. So we're diamond drilling there currently. So why would you invest in Cannon Resources? Well, the main reason is we already have high-grade resources in the ground. At both our projects, we've got nickel sulfide resources. So Fisher East has 78 kilotons of contained nickel in the ground in 3 deposits. They've got an average grade of about 1.9% nickel, and they're all open. And then Collurabble's got a small resource, which is an intrusive style of around about 9.3 kilotons. We're going to be quite aggressive. We are being quite aggressive. We're spending our money in the ground now. We're drilling at Fisher East, diamond drilling, and we've just completed an aircore program there as well. We think we've got an experienced board and management. We've got a mix of geologists and finance people. We consider ourselves an attractive valuation as well. We've got a market cap right now of about $21 million. We've got very fantastic assets in the ground, and our current exploration will give a nice news flow. So they're the investment highlights. The company Snapshot is, as I said, we listed on the 12th of August. We've got 75 million shares. Options, you can see there, 16 million. Market capitalisation around about $21 million today. And in our IPO, we raised $6 million in cash. So we've got an enterprise value of about $14 million odd dollars. Our shareholder base currently, because we were an in-specie spin-out from Rox Resources, we ended up with Rox as our major shareholder now. It's about 11%. We've also got Hawke's Point, which came over from Rox as well. And our third biggest shareholder is Ponderosa Investments, who's a new shareholder from WA here. And then with directors and management's holding, that those 4 groups take up about 25% of the current shareholder base. So the board is Trevor Benson, who's finance, investment banking. He's current chairman of Ionic Rare Earths. We've got Alex Passmore, who came across from Rox Resources. He's the managing director of Rox Resources. He's a geologist who went into the finance side of the business. A lot of experience in company management. And Richard Bevan, of course, who is from Cassini Resources, long-term managing director. A lot of experience in the corporate side of this activity, and M&A, that sort of thing, and myself. So look, at Fisher East and Collurabble, we've got resources in the ground. So there's the resources for Fisher East. 3 deposits, Camelwood, Cannonball, Musket. Camelwood and Muscat are the two larger ones. They're around about 39 and 32 kilotons respectively. Total of 78 kilotons at those three deposits. At Collurabble, much smaller, but a different style of nickel sulphide mineralisation. That's an intrusive style. The Fisher East is komatiite, base of channel, Kambolda style. Oops. Back. So the Collurabble Project is made up of three tenements. Intrusive style sulphide. It's nickel, copper, cobalt, PGE. Typical of say Nova, Julimar, Savannah. It's a small resource. It was found by Western Mining Corporation and BHP subsequently in the early 2000s. A substantial amount of drilling is already on that, maybe 30 diamond holes. It seems to be fairly constrained by the current drilling, but that mineralisation strikes over about 15 kilometres on our ground, which is on the coloured part of that map there. And there's multiple nickel hits all along that. So it's an intrusive style, but it's within a sill. The sills were intruded into those rocks horizontally, and now the whole thing's been tilted up, regionally folded and standing on its end. So it's striking over about 15 kilometres there, multiple hits along it, and most of those hits, regionally have yet to be followed up properly. Just as an aside, there's also gold and VMS style mineralisation quite widespread here too. So, which is an interesting concept. There seems to be a lot of VMS style mineralisation associated with nickel, and it could be a precursor to the mineralisation style. The komatiite and intrusive rocks scavenging the sulphides from that source. So the Fisher East nickel project is a Kambolda style play. There's an aeromag image there. It's showing all the deposits and our prospects sitting along the basal komatiite flow. We've got about more than 20 kilometres of strike of that basal position, and the three ore bodies, Camelwood, Cannonball and Muscat, are all sitting on that northern section. They're about 2 kilometres apart, and there's further prospects all the way along. There's probably a further channel system, or there certainly is a further channel system at Sabre, where we're currently working as well. So all these systems have been overturned. So the rocks here are overturned and are dipping to the east. They all dip about between 55 and 70 degrees to the east. So they're almost upside down now. And we're exploring extensively over the three ore bodies, but also further south on the other prospects currently. So at Camelwood, so the resource there, 2 million tonnes at 2% nickel, 39 kilotons. It's massive sulphide, disseminated and matrix sulphides. It's typical Kambolda style. Now, it's a little bit structurally complex as well, Camelwood, and there seems to be two controls on mineralisation. There's a structural, what we think is a structural plunge to the north, and there's also the primary plunge, which we think is to the south. So those coloured rectangles on that image are the EM plates. So we had New Exco have a look at our existing EM, and they did a reinterpretation. That, coupled with the geology interpretation, we felt that those red plates are elongated in a primary orientation to the south. We think that's the primary plunge. In that primary plunge to the south, most of the drilling has not taken place. It's been chasing this northern plunge, which is the work Rocks did. Through no fault of theirs, they were chasing the mineralisation, but we're after the larger target, which represents the primary mineralisation. So that's our focus. So at Muscat, which is 2 kilometres south, we've got another channel that is steeply plunging, almost vertical. It's around about, the whole channel's about 400 metres wide. We've got a central zone and then what we think is an overbank situation to the north. So this is 32 kilotons of contained nickel here at about 1.7% nickel. And it's drilled to about 400 metres vertical depth is the bottom hole. All those drill holes have entered in mineralisation, and it's completely open down plunge to below it, and that's our focus of our current work. So at Muscat, here's a diagram that I drew of the concept of what it is. So a channel with the central mineralisation there, and an overbank situation to the north. The base is massive sulfide. It's got a very high tenor nickel deportment, so probably a very high amount of pentlandite in the sulfide. So the massive is going, 19 to 20% nickel. And the disseminated zone above it is going between 1 and 5%. So, and the maximum thickness so far of that is around about 15, 16 metres thick. The whole thing, of course, has been tilted up on its side and overturned, so it's upside down now. So when we drill from the footwall, we're drilling into the massive first, and then we get into the disseminated. So generally the massive is around about, the thickest is about 0.9 of a metre, so it's generally around, so far around 20, 30 centimetres to, almost a metre. But we obviously want to find more of that at 20%. Sabre is another channel about 6 kilometres south of Muscat. It's a system that's got moderate drilling on it. It's only been drilled down to about 300 metres RL, but really wide space drilling by rocks previously. Around about 160 metres between holes, way too coarse for us to have a proper understanding of it. So we're currently drilling in this area. So we've got some targets there, as you can see, those red circles. We basically want to drill underneath the main zone and the zone off to the north, south. The sort of grades on this one are around about, 2.5 metres at 2.6% nickel, 3.5 metres at 1.4. So seems to be a little bit lower grade than the other ones, but as I said, the drilling's coarse and we're still in exploration phase on this one. So we're currently drilling at Mount Fisher East, and here's an update of our exploration program. So we started diamond drilling on listing a couple of days before listing, and the rig is still there. We had an initial program of 4,000 metres allocated for this work. We were going to drill Camelwood, Muscat, and Sabre. There's no resource on Sabre yet. We had an initial program of 4,000 metres. Now we've upped that to 6,300, and the rig is still there. And we expect to finish that in about 6 weeks. So we've currently done about 10 holes of the original 12, and we've got a further, the further 2 to do, and then another 6 on top of that. So the holes we've drilled on that long section there, it shows all the drilling. There's no other drilling, and those red drill holes are our proposed holes. As I said, we've done 10 of them already in approximately the same place. So 4 at Muscat, 5 at Camelwood, and another 3 at Sabre, and then some further drilling at Muscat and Sabre on top of that. So we're still waiting for assay data. I'm told reliably that the assay data is being throughput through the lab imminently. So we're expecting the first batch of holes back probably on Muscat, and it should be in about a week or so. So I look forward to relaying that information when it comes in. And we've got downhole EM, of course, being done on all of our new holes. So that will take place this week. The crew are mobilising to site probably tomorrow. On top of that, we've also done an air core program. So we had about, we've done 8,200 metres of drilling, air core drilling, 128 holes in the same location all along that contact. So that map there shows you the contact in that red line. To the north, it's all undercover. So Muscat and Cutlass are undercover. Shallow cover, it's only about 10 metres to a couple of metres at Cutlass. And then the rocks outcrop from Sabre, Tomahawk and Horatio. They outcrop. So that map there is a DEM, digital elevation model. It's showing you the outcrop areas and the cover areas. All and the drill traverses are shown there as well. So all drilling intersected the contact and at all 5 of those prospects. So we intersected the ore position contact at all of them. At Muscat and Sabre, where we already know we've got mineralisation, we hit the Gossan at the top. And look, the reason why we're doing this work is we're trying to characterise the geochemical response at the surface where these things crop out or subcrop, because this work hasn't really been done before. So we're trying to understand what the trace element distribution is in the near surface. So when we explore with air core, we can recognise an ore body. So it turns out that Muscat is probably depleted in nickel and copper, and it seems to be retaining its PGE. So we're pretty confident that we're going to get very strong PGE anomalies where we've got mineralisation, not necessarily nickel anomalies. And a lot of the earlier drilling from earlier prospectors in this area only assayed for nickel, and no surprise that they didn't get anything when you've got ore bodies sitting there. So semi-hidden. They've also got a fairly modest EM response as well. So things like Muscat, a known ore body that crops out virtually, did not have an EM surface response because of violarite development and conversion of pyrrhotite to pyrite. Those sort of things have semi-destroyed the conductivity of the thing. So very hard to pick up with EM, and we think geochemistry, geochemistry is the way to go. So we've only just sent those samples off to the lab, so they're going off to the lab sort of now. But the labs are starting to get bottlenecked, so we think there's probably going to be an 8-week delay on getting that assay data back. So concluding remarks, high-grade resources at both prospects. Fisher East is our compelling target. We really are keen on that one. We've got known resources. All pre-existing drilling ended in mineralisation. All the deposits are open at depth and along strike. At the case of Camelwood, for instance, every single drill hole that was previously drilled there hit mineralisation, and we're talking probably 100 drill holes. We've got a target-rich environment there. So there's also significant striking potential along the ore position contact. To the south, we're aggressively doing exploration there now. We want to find extensions to the ore bodies and understand their morphology so we can target further mineralisation. We hope to actually grow these resources and demonstrate to the market that we can do that. So, at 21 million market cap, I think there's tremendous upside, on this asset base we've got here. So, thank you very much.